I'd love to answer some questions about the minutiae of you guys if I missed anything or things you might want to know about the future. Because I know that's the last slide. Go ahead.
What more do you have to do to get the gold certification?
It was more on the air quality. Air quality. I mean, and it's all bells and whistles. It's more if we got the finances to do it, we will. But if it means just getting silver and not gold because of the finances, then we'll be happy with silver. But if I remember the report, it was just some bells and whistles with the air quality. And anybody else?
When you said that you're a zero landfill facility, and who does your sorting or recycling?
It goes down to.
And how do they know that they've gotten all the recyclables out of the trash before it goes to RESCO?
Oh, good question.
Because, I mean, if anything is recyclable, then it shouldn't go. And that there's plastics that are burnt in the RESCO, then, it leads to dioxins and all sorts of other nasty chemicals.
You know more about RESCO than I do, obviously. But good question, because I can't tell you that 2 compactors, or it takes about 4 per game that go down to RESCO. I'm not going to tell you there's not recyclables in it. It's just depressing. We only get a fraction of what we could get. What goes out of that stack, I'm going down for a meeting one day to understand how it all works, because I'd like to know, but that's where it goes. So I cannot tell you with confidence that dumpster that goes down there's a lot of recyclable stuff in that dumpster, without a doubt. So it's our goal to try and get all that over to the other dumpster. And, so we're getting there. It's the best I can tell you. Yeah, there will be some plastics and recyclables in there. Again, we do about 10 tons a game. I think in reality we could do 30. I'll be happy if we get 15 next year. It's a long process. I'm very passionate about it. I get very upset when I watch a fan go up and have a choice and take the wrong choice of cans. It's a mentality. I'm not going to lie. Football business is a business of drinking. There's a lot of drinking that goes on. So we're trying to not only change the culture of the fans, we're also trying to change the culture of the fans who have been drinking for 4 or 5 hours. And again, if I could have gone through a lot of pain, I could have done this for hours. I mean, one of our biggest challenges in recycling last year was I'll reach out to the sponsors in a heartbeat and get anything free that they'll give me to get the recycling going. Coke gave us a bunch of bins, but we learned the first 2 years that the 4 holes in the top would not accept the cups, which are recyclable. And what would happen is if I had the picture to show you, you'd see a picture of 4 clogged holes. You'd see some attempt at and then they get fed up and they put it in the other can. We took one of our interns this year, had them go around and make all the holes a little bigger, and it's amazing how you see the difference right away that they actually got a place too. Same with the fan cans on the spine. I remember every game I was yelling about why they overflowing, and they weren't really overflowing, they just weren't getting in there. And the housekeeping came back to me and said, Jeff, we think if you make that hole bigger, it'll make that, and we did. We made the hole bigger, and we haven't had a problem since. So I don't know if we'll ever can educate them all. I don't think we can educate every fan, especially once we let the alcohol take over. But we're getting there. So it's a good question. Personally, I'm going to go learn more about RESCO. It's on our list to do this year. They've invited us down to go see how it works. So.
Have you guys had a chance to post signage about encouraging fans to recycle when they are tailgating, like on light poles or anything like that?
Another good question. Some perks of my job was I got to go out to Denver last year and do some recon on U2. That was their first stop, so we got to go out a month before and see where we're getting ready to take on. Denver's not Baltimore, and Baltimore's not Denver, I'll tell you that right now. And they're miles and miles ahead of us when it comes to the green and sustainability. But I learned a lot, and that's actually on my budget this year, is they overloaded their building with signage, and I do believe signage helps, anything you can do. So there's going to be a signage budget this year we're going to put in place for both the parking lots and the building to get the fans involved. We're going to start printing on the bags that we're handing out to them. It's next budget season, next season, you'll see a lot of signage.
With the flushless urinals, since they don't have any place to put their drinks, is there any consideration of putting like a do you not want them to bring their drinks in? Or do you
Well,
want them to put their drinks there?
got another good question. Because what I get to see is what the average fan doesn't see, and that's after the game and post-game. Like I said, the last place you want to go in a football game is the restroom after everybody's gone. So I did get to watch them clean up one night. And so we got a couple challenges ahead of us. Is housekeeping themselves don't like to touch anything in the restroom. But we are going to work with housekeeping about collecting all that stuff on the floor without using your hands and getting in the bag. Because it is another challenge with housekeeping is the way we do at the football stadium, if you saw it, all recycling is a clear bag. It's just our way of identifying it. But post-game, in that scenario, they'll go around with a black bag and collect all that stuff, and then it just gets lost in the other dumpster, which goes down the street. So we are going to work in the bathrooms and with housekeeping to, again, get that volume of recycling. That was a good question, too, because we are on that one. Yep.
Speaking of bathrooms, for the female bathrooms, have you guys thought about having the, down flush for solid waste, up flush for liquid waste, or even in the men's bathrooms or anything?
Another great question. I'm going to tell you why, if you've got a minute. My counterpart with the Baltimore Ravens is a gentleman named Roy Summerhoff. He's the vice president of operations for the Ravens. We actually share a wall. He has this very big pet peeve, and I hope he doesn't mind me using this. I use it at work a lot. He has a very big pet peeve in any of the restrooms, especially the women's restrooms, about why there's a foot mark on the wall at the flushometer. And he still has a hard time understanding why people won't use their hand and they use their foot. I've talked to enough lady. I use yes, we are looking at that, and what we're going to do is I'm not going to go out and buy. As we replace one, we're going to put one in. We're just going to introduce them to the building and then educate the women. Now, the women's they're pretty tough in the restroom, I'll tell you that. Is anybody familiar with what she's talking about? I love the concept. We can't give the ladies a waterless urinal. I got that. It's basically a control for volume of water used. So for number one, you can go up, and number two, you can go down. I guess is the best way to me, it was going to take a survey and ask them which way is better, up or down. But it's a very good concept. But like everything else, it will take education. Because again, fans at a football game, they want to go in, they want to watch a football game, and they want to leave. So talking about signage, it would have to be signage actually in the stall. And but yes, our league consultant brought that to our attention. I thought it was a great idea. Don't know if the budget can handle a full retrofit. So the best way to address if you can't handle a full retrofit is just phase it in. So as we, and I won't just do one bathroom. The memo I just sent out was, if we have to replace one in a restroom, then convert the whole restroom, and then we'll start from there. So it might take 2 or 3 years. And I guess the other important thing I want to make sure I get clear here today is that the team is on board with all this. The team is on board with all. They've never said no to any of the sustainability projects as long as they made sense, as long as they were the right thing to do. The team has supported us 100%. And I guess part of the payback on that is if I weren't here today, and I'm glad to be here today, and I did not change my plans in any form or fashion, we left for Palm Springs this morning to go attend a thing called Stadium Managers Association annual meeting in Palm Springs. And this year I was a little bit more interested than last year because we believe we're going to get an award this year. Just a rumor. Stadium Managers is an organization I belong to for all the stadiums in the country, and they have what they call the Energy Bowl. And we had to gather all this data we've been showing you and submit it. And there's a rumor that we're on the front running to get this award, so I'll know in 2 days. But I'll be honest with you, it was more important for me to come help educate and start the process of educating those in the neighborhood than it is to fly out to Palm Springs and pick up an award. So even just a small group, if the word starts getting out that we're not wasting all this stuff and we're not doing the things that guy said in the blog, then I've started, because it's just the opposite. We get it. It's our duty to do this at the end of the day, period.
Any consideration of collecting rainwater to use as flushing toilets?
You must be a green person. You must be somebody. Another good question. Actually, we did look for some kind of slide to put on there. We just couldn't find anything that would click. Yes, we are looking at that because we do have a lot of rainwater. We did do it up at Oriole Park. I can, even though I work for the authority, I can't speak with a lot of authority on the other stadium or the warehouse. But as part of the race, and I know that's not always on everybody's mind to talk about, but when we built the new pit area, we put in a 10,000-gallon reclamation tank up there at the warehouse. So I'm looking at something very similar, another 10,000-gallon tank. Again, it's the water. The water scares me the most because to me it's one of our most precious commodities and people take it for granted. So anything I can do. One of the projects, since you brought that up, there's a food processing equipment now that'll take food and basically turn it into gray water. Well, it actually turns into gray water. I've looked at the composting
Yeah.
apparatus, and now there's another one out there that just turns it into gray water, which basically I can use to go out and water the flowers again. So we're looking at a couple things. With all sustainability, and it seems like it's a lot of it's budget. I mean, I have to go sell a lot of this to the right people, and a lot of sustainability doesn't necessarily have a payback. That's the hard part. It's if you
I
look.
know LEED certification, you can do everything that would earn you LEED certification, but then that actual process of applying is pretty expensive too, right?
Actually, the application was about $950. It's more about the other applications you put in as you go with each, like it's
Well, the whole-
subject matter.
the whole
Yeah,
certification
yeah,
process.
yes, there's several items you have to submit independently, and with each independent submission, you have to pay a fee. But again, the team's on board with it. Maryland Stadium Authority is on board with it. So again, this will be a pretty, at least where I come from, this is on my bucket list. If I do anything, is I want to get that building to certification. Because what I didn't make very clear when I started was I spent 3 years with that building when it came out of the ground, so it's kind of special to me. So yeah, that's my bucket list, is to get that silver plaque on the building. Anything else? Are you trying for silver anywhere? Are you trying for a LEED application anywhere? Okay, interesting. I can. I'm sorry. Anything else? I'm sorry.